So in the very beginning, we want to make sure that we're asking for the people confidently. And one of the things that's super important is to make sure that we're talking to the person who picks up the phone. So for example, if the letter says John Smith and a lady picks up the phone, we want to say, "Oh, hi, Miss Smith. My name's Miranda. I'm following up with you about your mortgage and the amount of 200,000 with Wells Fargo Bank." You just want to jump right into it and assume that she's the person that you need to be talking to. Or else what happens is you can go on a wild goose chase trying to get the gentleman on the phone when indeed perhaps she's the one who had called in the first place.
Hey,
So, yes, I know. How's it going?
sorry, I just got back here. Can I piggyback off of that?
Yeah.
So that's a really good point. And when we do dial teams, one of the things I notice with a lot of new agents is they may ask for Mr. or Mrs. Smith, or they might say, "Hi, may I please speak to the owner of the home?" Or they'll basically identify themselves as a telemarketer. And the thing that happens when that happens is that the consumer is now going to be very guarded, and it's going to be very difficult for you to move forward. So what we're talking about there, I know we talked about before in the last call, but that's really critical to get to the next step.
Awesome. Okay. So what may happen is if I say, "Hi, Mrs. Smith," she might say, "No, I'm not Mrs. Smith." Okay, well, are you the head of the household? Yes. Okay, great. Or do you live at this at 12345 Street? Yes, and I continue on. So just be very clear in the beginning that you just want to get into that script as confidently and as smoothly as possible. Um, so moving.
Now this is actually very pertinent to the new call-in leads. So I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of a key here. Sometimes when I was calling these leads, if I'm asking for Mrs. Smith and she says, "Yeah, this is she," and I'll go right into my script, she may come back and tell me that she never called. All right, or Miranda's going to get into this in just a minute. She might say, "No, no, no, we're not interested." And what we're going to do is we're going to try to remind her of what she did. We're going to try to remind her that she received the postcard, either her or her husband, and on this postcard it talked about something of great importance regarding the loan, regarding mortgage protection, which they called in, answered a few questions, and so forth. And then if she still is really resistant, she says, "No, we never did that." Something I want you to do is you want to divert at this point, and you want to say, "Okay, no worries. If it wasn't you, then it definitely was it definitely was your spouse. So can you do me a favor and let him know that we're giving him a call back?" Now what's going to happen is she's going to hear the word call or the words "call back," and now she's going to probably think this is a little bit more serious than she thought. So she's going to take down the information as far as, "Yeah, okay, so what's your name?" "Ben Miller." "Okay, great. And you know what? We're going to try to give him a call back a little bit later. I appreciate your time." So now she's going to say, "Hey, okay, no worries." She's going to tell her husband, "Some guy named Ben Miller is calling regarding the mortgage, and I have a second chance now to deliver my script to the person who probably was the one who gave the call."
Cool. And what I found when I was calling through these leads, I know on the introductory call we said that the book rate would actually perhaps be less. I actually found that it was pretty close to the same as the A leads that I was calling off of. But the key is the confidence that you go in there with to the script. So if you're unsure or you're kind of like expecting that you're going to get resistance, it's almost like instinctual. Like, when they say animals can tell when you're like nervous or whatever, you think it's the same thing on the phone, right? The only thing that we have it to our advantage is the way that we speak and the confidence that we go there with. And in this system, our confidence is what makes people want to talk to you. Okay. So, and also we talked about it before, but not pausing at the end of the sentence, because that's also going to show that you're not confident. So on this script, this is the call-in script that I'm sure we'll be getting this circled around, but I actually put little highlights on here of where I recommend pausing. And the verbiage is slightly different in the start, but I find that this is going to give you the strength to get through this introduction, this is where they're deciding if they want to do business with you. So if we can nail this, pause in the right spot, and then strategically get into the qualifying of their personal information, we're going to book these guys, okay? Do you want to role play that first part, or is there anything else you want to add there?
Well, the thing I'm going to recommend is for everybody to do a lot of role playing for yourself. I mean, even take a recorder and just practice that first couple sentences here, and do it until you become really good and comfortable with it. Because what's going to happen is, if it's different, you're going to be a little bit fearful because it's different, and that fear is going to come across when you're delivering the scripts. So if you're jumping right in and you're not giving yourself the best chance for success, in other words, you're not practicing before you actually do it, you know, it's going to be hard. Not that you can't work through it, but it'll be a lot easier if you just spend the time memorizing the small changes, practicing it until you get comfortable, and then delivering it on the phone. So yeah, Murph, go ahead. You wanna start do role play?
Yeah, I had an agent actually the other day, Louis Zemont. He's brand new to Symmetry, and I got on the phone with him and did like a role play, and I was like, man, you sound like you have really, really polished this thing. And what he had said, he's like, yeah, I recorded myself, I listened to it, I played it back, and then he took it paragraph by paragraph and did it until it sounded confident and that he wasn't pausing at the end of the sentences, and just perfected it. And if we take that type of dedication and commitment towards this, it's going to move mountains for you guys for sure. And Ben and I have always trained that practice on each other, not on our guests. Especially now, if we're spending $10 to $30 a lead, my goodness, you know, what is an hour or two of practice ahead of time to make sure we're doubling or tripling our appointments that we're going to be setting, right?
You know, it's funny that you say that. I had an agent, you know, kind of along the same guidelines there. He was struggling on the phone. He really wasn't doing the kind of activity he needed to get the results. So that was part of the issue. But we also started to talk a little bit about scripts. And I just had him give me his script on how he delivers it. And it turns out that it wasn't very close to what the script is supposed to be. And I think a lot of agents fall error to that, right? They use this as a foundation, and then very quickly they'll start to make some changes. And the thing I'll tell you about this is, if you start to make some changes, especially changes that haven't been tested, who knows what's going to happen. So if you're new, you know, the best thing for you to do is just follow the structure, follow the script. And that's exactly what I told my agent. And that very next weekend, he texted me his results. And he said, I dialed 178 dials, got 30 contacts, and booked 17 appointments off of the bonus leads. And so just by sticking to scripts, he was able to increase his results. And then on that recording that you said that guy did, he decided to record himself on live calls. And when he was listening to him in the very beginning, he said he sounded like he was on helium. I mean, he was just going so quick. He was so excited, and he didn't realize he was doing that. So when you listen to yourself, you'd be amazed on some of the things that you catch yourself doing.
Yeah, I had an agent yesterday I was working with, and he kept adding the word just everywhere. And he didn't even realize he's doing it. And he's like, it's just Miranda calling. I'm just following up on your mortgage. I'm just this. And just had snuck into almost every line that he had said. Everything was perfect. But just by that one little tiny word, it just took everything that he was saying from super confident, which I knew he knew his stuff, to just. So little things like that, guys, you'll discover when you really dive in and just master this stuff. But anyways,